The reality at Pilar is that there's very high grade mineralization along fault structures. We returned excellent gold and silver grades. A 2-meter chip on a silicified breccia came back with 5 grams gold, 100 grams silver. 2 kilometers away on the same trend, we found an old mine working, 3 grams gold, 1,200 grams silver. And then late February, we're looking to start to open up ground in preparation for the test mine, with the expectation that later in Q3 we could potentially be pouring for that test sample. Really what we're looking to do with the test mine is to do it on scale with 50,000 tons processed. At that scale, you generate cash. Yeah, like I said, we're getting close to wrapping up that financing. So if there's any interest, please reach out to us.
All right, today we're having a discussion with Brodie Sutherland, the CEO of Tocvan Ventures, a gold and silver exploration company in Mexico who is currently drilling their flagship project as we speak. That means plenty of catalyst on the horizon, and we'll talk about all that and more in just a bit. Before that, Brodie, welcome. Perhaps we can start off with a short and sweet high-level overview from your side.
Well, thank you for having me today. Really to capture the opportunity for our company, we're gold, silver focused in an extremely mine-friendly jurisdiction where it's very low cost to develop and advance projects through to production. That's what our focus is. We have our main project, Gran Pilar in Sonora, Mexico. We've been active there for over 3.5 years. We're really building that towards mine development. That's our goal. And doing that in a market that really has underappreciated the gold equity. So that's the opportunity that we present. We've been drilling there for 3.5 years now. The project has seen over 26,000 meters of drilling. We've done a bulk sample in 2023 that showcased excellent head grade, 1.9 grams per ton gold, great recoveries. What we're looking to do to move this thing forward is continue to drill to build towards a maiden resource estimate at Gran Pilar that will constitute just 5% of the total project area. The rest, the 95%, has never seen a drill hole yet, which we're looking to start to do this year. In tandem with that, it's about building a test mine to show the economics and viability of the project and better showcase and understand the metallurgy of it. And the reason that we're doing the test mine is really because we can. We're in a jurisdiction that we can permit this quickly and move it forward through that process and recover the metals that we're actually going after, gold and silver, which I think with the current commodity prices is an exciting thing. So that's what we're looking to do. Longer term outlook, within a 2-year time frame, we're looking to get this thing all the way to full scale production. And we think currently we have 2 separate mineralized systems on the project that we're really just starting to tap into. So it's about, while we're going through full scale permitting, also looking at developing additional resource potential through drilling.
There's so many threads there to pull for me, so we'll do that over time. But let's start with the geology, with the exploration potential. You have a drill campaign ongoing, and you have this amazing slide in your presentation to highlight the different tenements that you have. Partially it's a joint venture and partially it's fully owned. Perhaps you can take us along how that's looking like. And also, what are you currently exploring in this map?
Yeah, so first off, I'll start with the history because it's quite an interesting one. This was discovered by the Lundins in 1996, and they drilled some incredible holes, 16.5 meters of 53 grams per ton gold, several others, 10 meters of 10 grams, some broad low-grade intercepts. Fortunate for us, 96, 97 wasn't a fantastic time in the markets, and gold was only $300 an ounce at the time. So they ended up walking away from the project, and really what happened to it, it was consolidated. The key claims, there was 2 claims there that made up about 1 square kilometer. Those were held by prospectors and kind of limped along in terms of steadily trying to advance them. But not really understanding the broader scale of things. When we came across it in 2019, we liked the potential, but we knew that to really make it work, we needed to consolidate a bigger area. Last year, we were successful in doing that, and immediately through exploration, we started to showcase the potential on the broader scale across that project. So that 1 square kilometer where that historic work was done and the bulk of all drilling has been done in the past, we own 51% of. We have a joint venture with another junior Canadian partner there. We'll see what the future entails, but there's different pathways for us to increase our ownership there. The key part is the 100% ownership of everything around it, and that 22 square kilometers around it again has a really interesting history in that it was overlooked in the past. There was copper exploration done in the early 90s here. They didn't evaluate gold and silver, and what really opened our eyes over the last couple of years is local placer miners who are working in the unconsolidated gravels in dry creek beds were recovering significant amounts of gold throughout the area. And we started to notice that where they were operating wasn't coming from our main zone, where all this historic work was done. It was coming from somewhere else, further to the north and to the east. So we started to really uncover what that potential was. And recently we put out some more surface results, but we had some from last year, very encouraging. We're seeing all the same mineralization styles, geology that we see at our main zone, but in areas that have never been drill tested and now have full road access to them. So that's what we're looking to test next, immediately north and east of our main zone, is this direct extension of everything. And that geology, it's all the same. So I think that's the benefit that we have in terms of upside as we move things forward. And then beyond that, what makes things really interesting is 5 kilometers to the north, we have this area called the North Alteration Zone. And this area is quite visual. You can see the rocks. They're kind of rusted red and white. And it was quite obvious there was something going on with the alteration of that rock. However, we didn't know if it was tied to mineralization until we started sampling it. And last year when we started sampling it, we returned excellent gold and silver grades. A 2-meter chip on a silicified breccia came back with 5 grams gold, 100 grams silver. 2 kilometers away on the same trend, we found an old mine working 3 grams gold, 1,200 grams silver. And really what we think's happening is that in the north, this is a completely separate mineralized system. And it has a completely different structural orientation. Everything in the south is going off to the northwest. Up in this northern area, everything's kind of going more east-west in direction. So we think it's completely separate. We think it's higher up in what we would model as an epithermal, and that means it's got tons of depth potential to it. And when we started to showcase that, one of the major producers in our region reached out and ended up spending a significant amount of time this summer looking at the area in detail. We're in continued discussions with them. Really, our mindset is that it's early in our understanding of the project and the potential, and we want to further understand that before we look to advance into any arrangement with a strategic. But it's got great potential to it, and really this has just come to light over the last year as we've started to explore this greater land package.
Yeah, really interesting to dive into that history, see how these things have evolved, and 2 systems, 1 north, 1 south, very interesting. You referenced, of course, your current groundwork that you have completed. I took this picture from your news report. Of course, here we see some grab samples from the surface. Perhaps you can explain to us how this overlaps with your current drilling campaign ongoing and what really the main thesis is. Of course, on the left we have the main zone. But perhaps you can take us along. What are we looking at, and what are you testing with this drill campaign?
Yeah, so going back to that history, that main zone, which is that kind of light reddish bar off on the left end of the image there, that's where the bulk of all drilling has been done. It has really been focused through there, and I mean for good reason. It's an excellent mineralized system there. We've drilled over 100 meters of 1.2 gram per ton gold on average with silver credit. I mean it's an excellent system. It's right there at surface, exposed. It's quite obvious, and really the significance over the last year, we ended up stepping out over 300 meters to the east on a parallel trend we call 4T. We hit 56 meters of a gram per ton gold, and really kind of opening up that trend for significant grade potential. And then next to that, but still 300 meters away, on a trend we call North Hill, we hit over 42 meters of a gram. And this is all near surface mineralization that we're really just starting to uncover. So the drilling that's going on right now is core drilling that's going back through each of these trends and allowing us to better understand the geology so we can build out our model to build out a robust mineral resource estimate. And that's the main focus of that program. Some of the holes are modest step outs of what's known to understand the geology, but also expand known mineralization. And, really tying into this, before the holidays, we had completed a quick RC program with drilling that's really just on the northern end of what we call our North Hill trend. And that's starting to test for the first time the extension of these systems further north. They could not be tested in the past because that land was not controlled. It now is. And I think that's further going to showcase the expansion potential of this, the immediate expansion potential. And we're also looking to get back with the RC rig and start to test that same concept and theory along that 4T trend further to the north, where we have excellent surface samples telling us there's something going on there as well. And then stepping out and looking at this broader image, you start to see that all these red dots that we see to the north and to the east, these are brand new. These have never been sampled before. These are all very similar, characteristics that we see at our main zone in terms of fault structures, in terms of breccias, in terms of veining, stockworks, and they're spread out and distributed over a sizable area. And this is the key for us to continue to grow and expand resource potential. It's early days. These are the first samples really that we've started to collect over the last year. From this image are the ones that we've just collected over the last few months. And it's really starting to showcase what the bigger potential is. And what's significant is that where the text is for that lists the grade for these samples, that area actually has not been sampled yet. So there's another 1.5 kilometers to the east of this that has not seen any sampling as of today. Again, this is just focusing on that southern area, that southern block, not considering the potential that we have 4.5, 5 kilometers north in our north alteration zone. So really, this just starts to open your eyes to the bigger potential, and that's what we're looking to showcase over the next year and beyond.
Yeah, I think that picture is very clear. Two different distinct trends. We're talking about a large land package. The potential here is huge, and now the drilling campaign is testing whether you actually have mineralization there at depth. Makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about a bit more medium to long term. You already started talking about test mining, developing this project further. And perhaps you can take us along what the rationale behind that is. Is it to provide critical data for studies needed, or is it already to generate some revenue?
It's a bit of both. And we completed a successful bulk sample in 2023 that gave us tons of very useful information on how we can move the project forward. Seeing good recovery with heap leach. We ran some tests with gravity and agitated leach separately, which showed excellent recovery of the gold and silver, over 95% recovery for the gold, a range between 73 and 93% recovery for the silver, which is very high. And that was all very encouraging. Really what we're looking to do with the test mine is to do it on scale with 50,000 tons processed. At that scale, you generate cash. And that's part of what we're looking to showcase, is that on a very small scale of mining, this works. Imagine if you did it on a larger scale. And while we go through that process, it's continuing to learn and optimize what's going to make the most sense for processing this material at Gran Pilar. And looking back at the bulk sample, we learned so much through that process. Traditionally, you see a lot of projects, they'll limit metallurgy to column leach studies, kind of isolated lab scale studies. The fact that this is all exposed at surface allows us to really open it up and test the bigger potential of it. The benefit to that as well is looking at what the true grade can be. And the reality at Pilar is that there's very high grade mineralization along fault structures. Adjacent to that is low grade mineralization in stockworks and breccias. When you take a bigger sample, it's actually more representative. And that's exactly what we saw with the bulk sample. It came back with 1.9 gram per ton head grade because it was a blend of the high grade and the low grade. And that's what we want to showcase at Pilar as well, because we think as you start to process that material and mine it, it's going to see a higher grade than you would get out of any resource calculated through drilling. So, there's a lot of steps there that really, I think, help benefit us and help, propel our company forward. The other part of it is, gold's at $2,700 an ounce. It's, we were happy and encouraged and looking forward to the future of this project at $1,800 gold. At $2,700 gold, it's a completely new world. So, it's just going through that process and trying to differentiate ourselves from the other pure explorers, because we feel that for a company to move forward in this market, you have to have something more than just being a pure explorer. And we want to be able to showcase that we can do both.
Yeah, I find it a very interesting strategy. And I mean, if you're talking about 50,000 tons of test mining, if you were to get 1.5 grams a ton, somewhere around that figure, you would be talking about thousands of ounces, low thousands of ounces, but thousands of ounces still. At the current gold price, that's millions of dollars in potential revenues. So it makes complete sense there. Perhaps we can talk about what options you have available to yourself to actually do this. Does this require a big upfront investment? Do you have toll milling availability around you? How would this actually look like?
Yeah, there's several options available to us, and we've been exploring all of them. The first and kind of simplest is to do an equity financing to support the pilot that would look to raise capital to execute on it. And then, any cash generated from the gold, we can then put back into the ground and through the development of the project. That has some appeal to me. We've also been looking at short-term loan or debt arrangements because we generate enough cash to pay that off quickly within a year. Those are options available to us. So we're exploring all of those. There are other processing facilities close by, but really what we want to do is build the infrastructure for this test mine on site. And part of that is, as the project moves forward, it will continue to be utilized. So we want to start to build that infrastructure on site for us. So likely not utilizing any of the toll mills in the area.
It makes sense. You get the information of the mining, you get some cash flows. It does make sense from a surface level. Perhaps we can also talk about a bit longer term trajectory where you would like to take this project. You already talked about a major in the area that's interested. Would you be interested in exit at some point? Are you trying to develop the project for that? Or do you foresee yourself building a mine here with the team that you have in place?
We've got an excellent team that I have all the confidence in that we can build this thing and move it forward. And there's quite a compelling case to do that, especially in this market with the commodity performing like it is. This is an asset that can really propel a company forward and transform it in a lot of ways. So that's something that we're looking to continue to push for, going through all the permitting steps, de-risking the project all the way, getting it there to pre-construction. And by doing that, we feel that unlocks the full value of the asset. Now, as we move through that process over the next 2 years, do we create something that's attractive for one of the major producers around us? I think so. And so it's really a question of navigating through that and what makes the most sense for our shareholders. We're not looking for a quick exit. We feel like that's going to discredit the potential of the project. We're looking for the right one that maximizes the value for the shareholders.
Yeah, and I guess a great point there is that you don't need to choose right now. You can make the decision as it comes, because no matter what route you take, you will need to develop the project regardless. Perhaps we can very quickly touch base. I think we have a great picture of the exploration potential of the development potential here as well. Perhaps we can talk about timelines real quick before we dive a bit deeper into the financials and such. How long would we be talking about for the current drilling campaign to see the first assays? as well as this test mining to actually occur? What kind of timeframes are we talking about?
Yeah, very quick. So we completed 4 RC holes before the holidays. We're expecting results for those very soon, within the next couple of weeks. Beyond that, it looks like with the current core program, we're on hole 6, advancing quickly through hole 7. I think we've drilled close to 700 meters now. The first samples are going to be dropped off at the lab later this week. So our expectation is that leading into late February, early March, we start to see core results come out for that. So that means a lot of news flow on the drilling front as we see results for RC and core. On the back end of the core, we're looking to get the RC rig back out to continue to drill on the northern and eastern flank of what's known. So that'll generate more news flow. And then late February, we're looking to start to open up ground in preparation for the test mine. And opening up that ground, stripping it, and starting to sample it so we have the best indication of what our expected grade is going to be. And I think that'll start to generate a lot of exciting news flow in itself. And as we move through into the second quarter and then into Q3, it's about moving through the test mine, going through those steps, starting to extract and crush and process that material with the expectation that later in Q3 we could potentially be pouring doré for that test sample. And then as we move through that, we've seen 26,000 meters of drilling at Pilar now. This core program is really going to help us understand how we model the geology the best way possible. That can all get wrapped into a mineral resource estimate at any time. And for us, it's about picking the right time where we feel like we've hit the outer extents of mineralization, that it's appropriate to put out that mineral resource estimate. And the key thing there is that that's really going to make up just 5% of the total project area. The remaining area that we've seen in the images earlier with all the red dots and the new surface sampling, that has never seen a drill. So it's starting to evaluate and test those as well. So it's going to be a busy year. We've got lots to do, but we're excited for it. I think as we kind of come through this quieter period for the company, we've had a financing open for the last 2 months. We closed 2.1 million before the holidays. We're looking to close another additional 900,000 very quickly. We think we're very close to hitting that goal now. So we'll work through that and then use that capital to move things forward.
Well, let's continue talking about finances as you started referencing it already. Like you said, you raised 2.1, potentially raising another 0.9. How far should that take us financing-wise?
Yeah, it's going to carry us through the majority of the year. It will not finance the test mine. We're looking to do that separately. And as I alluded to before, there's several options that we're looking at for that. In addition to the 3 million that we're raising right now, we've got 3.5 million Canadian in warrants at 50 cents, rate where we're trading today. And our expectation is once we close the financing and start putting out drill results, hopefully we're successful with that drilling and continue to be. I think it's likely that we see those warrants get exercised at some point throughout this year, and that'll further support continued development. We'll see how that looks, but we're constantly looking for the right partners to continue to advance the project. But we know we're very close. It's not going to take that much more capital to get us right to the finish line in terms of making a construction decision. I think that's an exciting thing for us because we have been very focused on keeping our share structure intact over the last 4.5 years, and we'll continue to be focused on that. But we want to make sure that when this is a win for our shareholders, that they get maximized value for that.
Well, thank you for the color there. And of course, I believe your presentation references an all-in drilling cost of $130, which is quite impressive compared to some of your Canadian peers. So good to see that you're trying to make this budget stretch as far as possible, and good to see that it will carry you quite far. Cap table, you started referencing it. It is quite tight. You currently have about 57 million shares outstanding, I believe, about 81 million fully diluted. Perhaps you can take us through how insider ownership is looking like, and how that cap table is distributed across the market.
Yeah, we've got, from the founding of the company and from early days, about 25% are held up with management and close associates, insiders with the company. Beyond that, we have a family fund that owns 9.9%. They've established that and held that for the last 2.5 years. We have several other brokers in Canada that have been building large positions. About 65% is retail and high net worth, but we know where the majority of those shares are. They've been in long supportive hands, and that means we don't have a lot of float out there in terms of what's traded on a regular basis. And that's been a benefit for us through this more challenging market. As we look to continue to grow and expand, we're just looking to broaden our network and get more long supportive shareholders in, because we think that we can create a lot of value in the years ahead.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that color there. Another topic I would love to touch base on is jurisdiction. In Mexico, we hear quite a bit of negativity, potential open pit mining ban, potential, I should name it. How do you foresee Mexico as a jurisdiction? Of course, you already talking about test mining. How's permitting going? How's that jurisdiction treating you?
It's been fantastic. And I mean, really, you always have to look at things in a relative sense. I mean, the challenges in Mexico over the last 2 years are because of, changes they're looking to make to match more of, the mining leaders out there in the world. I mean, in Mexico pre-COVID, you could permit a mine like Gran Pilar, like what we're trying to do with Gran Pilar, in 9 months. I mean, that's incredibly fast. Now we're looking at a time frame of 18 to 24 months. I mean, that's still very fast. And a lot of the political rhetoric that we've heard over the last couple of years has really been tied to the election last year. Politicians jockeying for votes, and it really has nothing to do with operations in Sonora, which is the top mining state in Mexico. We have great community support. Environmentally, the project is minimal in terms of its impact there. We tick a lot of the boxes required to advance things forward. And what we're hearing from the regulators in Mexico is that to expect things to improve even more. I think importantly, through this period of uncertainty, things have been permitted and advanced forward. And on the exploration side, we've been able to continue to permit on a very quick timeline, typically within 3 to 4 weeks. We expect the same for the pilot facility, as it's grouped in with exploration in terms of extraction and disturbance. We don't expect any challenges, and we do expect things to improve. There's several operators around us with permits that are pending, amendments to permits that are pending, and their expectation is that they'll start to see those this year. So that's going to be a massive green light, I think, for Mexico. The new president, Claudia Sheinbaum, has made some very key indications that things are improving.
All right, Brodie, thank you so much for your time. I quickly want to give you the opportunity to share how a potential investor that's watching this, that is interested in potentially partaking in your private placement outstanding, how they can reach out, how they can get a contact to get that sorted.
Yeah, like I said, we're getting close to wrapping up that financing. So if there's any interest, please reach out to us. My email is in all our news releases and our presentation, everything there. You can reach out to us there. Happy to provide more information and go through all the details. The financing is a 48-cent unit that comes with a 3-year full warrant at 75 cents, which we think is quite attractive, and we'll see what we can do beyond that. But we think it's an exciting opportunity given the current state of our project and the market.
Great. I'll make sure to add those details in the description as well, Brodie. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.